Is game theory just a theory? Have you ever looked around and wondered, why is Bitcoin not at $1 million already? Why isn't it $500,000? Why isn't it $10 million? The supply's fixed, the hash rate's exploding, institutions are buying, governments are bankrupt, and yet the price just drifts sideways. It's not an accident, it's a signal. What's happening right now isn't a failure of Bitcoin's game theory, it's the messy middle of it unfolding. We're watching the most important repricing event in human history load in the background. The price hasn't exploded because the world isn't ready to accept what Bitcoin means. Think about that. The world is not ready to accept what Bitcoin means. The world is not ready to accept what Bitcoin means to everything you thought you knew in your life. Alvin Toffler's book, Future Shock, from 1970, I'm paraphrasing, talked about the people of the world the successful people of the world, will be the ones that can learn, unlearn, and then relearn. It's not just money, Bitcoin. It's a mirror. It's reflecting every broken incentive, every psychological blind spot that we can't see, every hidden lever that still props up this fiat illusion. And tonight we're breaking down the 21 reasons why Bitcoin's price hasn't exploded yet. This isn't a scientific explainer series, but it's going to give you a rundown so you can see from the advanced person all the way to the normie, the pre-coiner, the average person, and trying to figure out what's going on. What is this Bitcoin thing, and why is it doing what people say it's going to do, but also not doing what people say it's going to do? From derivatives markets that suppress the real signal to old money psychology that can't comprehend digital scarcity. Let's just be straight up. To the quiet, deliberate delays engineered by the powers that be. This isn't hopium. This is the map. Because when the dam finally breaks, when the world realizes that fiat can't be saved, that you really are on the fiat debt-based legacy monetary Titanic, and voting for someone else or trying to shuffle deck chairs, vote for a new captain on the Titanic still means you will be 12,000 feet under the sea in a few hours or a few years or a few decades. Bitcoin won't go up. It's going to reprice everything else. And it already is. It's repricing everything. Whether you think it is or you think it's not, it is. And by then, one Bitcoin won't feel expensive. It'll feel inevitable. Let's dig into this. Why Bitcoin's price hasn't exploded yet. The hidden forces delaying the world's greatest repricing event. So it's going to come in 4 phases. The structural market forces, the psychological and cultural friction, technical and economic bottlenecks, and game theory and manipulation. The structural market forces. The derivatives dampening the spot price. If you can control the paper version, you never have to touch a real thing. And that's how they suppress price. Again, this is incredibly important to understand. This is how the powers that be move or don't move the needle in the direction that they would like. This is absolutely massive to understand. And the beauty of Bitcoin, though, is that because it's an auditing mechanism every 10 minutes, you can't screw with the price forever. You cannot do this ad infinitum, indefinitely. At some point, the accounting mechanism takes hold. Ask Sam Bankman-Fried how that works. Ask those that have blown themselves up how that works. You will be accounted for at some point. It's easy. We have fiat, cash, dollars everywhere, gold, silver. There's no auditing mechanism. You don't know what's going on. You're trusting a third party. You have to go trust a middleman to figure out what in the world is happening. We don't have that with Bitcoin. So you can mess with the price a little while here and there, but eventually you get got. And eventually there's a recounting in the system. Number 2, ETF flows versus whale selling. Every ETF buy is being met by an early whale cashing out. It's a tug of war between new institutions and old money. And again, there are anywhere 400,000 I've seen coins from whales just in the last month or a month or two. I've seen many conflicting things, and that's why I didn't put any statistics in here. So you might have some better specific data, but what we know is that old money, whales that have been in for, call it a decade plus, are moving, they're cashing out, they are moving into other sectors of the Bitcoin economy, the ETFs, etc., other businesses. And so those coins are moving, and it's being met with the ETF inflows. So the outflows meeting the inflows. And so that's why the price hasn't moved where people many have thought it was going to. Although, again, it is nearly double of what it was a year ago. Custodial black holes, number 3. Most Bitcoin is trapped in custody. It's there, but it's not moving, which can mute the market signal to a degree because, yes, it can create scarcity, but at the same time, you don't always know what's what. Do we trust some of the exchanges? Do we trust some of the the FTXs of the world? Do we know exactly what's happening? And that's where I go back to number 1. These auditing mechanisms will finally figure themselves out, and you will get got eventually. OTC accumulation. So the biggest players behind closed doors, they buy behind closed doors. Their orders never touch the exchange books. So their price doesn't reflect true demand. So when you have these swaps going on behind the scenes, it's very hard to tell. The price doesn't move. You're having people that are trying to sovereign wealth funds or nation states or whales, and they're trying to move 1,000 coins or 5,000 coins or 3, whatever it is, and they are just swapping that. So that price never meets the book. We don't actually see what's happening. So the market is not actually getting that real price. It's just a swap happening. But eventually that runs out. That does stop. Number 5 is algorithmic trading and bots. The machines have taken over, whether we like it or not, for decades now, and they can flatten out, dampen volatility, while those that control quietly accumulate. So those are just some structural market forces of what's really happening. Psychological and cultural friction, the next section here. Number 6, fiat denialism. Most people still believe their government paper is safe until it's not. Again, this is a very real phenomenon that we are dealing with and will deal with for a while, is people not understanding that their dollar has gone down 99% over the last 112 years, and they're going to continue to get burned. They will get burned by inflation. They will continue at Thanksgiving, at Christmas, at different family events. They'll be complaining about the price of everything in their life going up, their rent going up, their mortgage, whatever it is, their interest rates. And the answer is right there, staring them in the face. Fiat denialism. 7, media disinformation. Every time Bitcoin's on TV, it's framed as risky or wasteful. And that's by design. Of course, one of the greatest things we've seen recently is the powers that be have to hide things in plain sight. And one of the greatest things that's happened recently is we've had this world where all the fun that was coming out, I think it was probably from nation states, people that wanted to accumulate, get cheaper Bitcoin, whatever it was in fiat terms, get cheaper Bitcoin. They wanted to accumulate, use their trash tokens, their fiat trash in order to get more. They wanted to spend less of their trash tokens in order to get more Bitcoin. We saw this for years. Bitcoin's boiling the oceans, and it's anything but that. Bitcoin is cleaning up the environment more than any other protocol, any other asset out there. And so for years it was, Bitcoin uses a ton of energy. Well, yes, energy is evenly present everywhere, anywhere. You can't destroy energy. Energy just is. So that on its face is a lie. But also it's using stranded energy or wasted energy or things that are destroying the environment. So it's cleaning things up, actually. And then here comes AI. The best part of all this is AI is a massive, massive energy suck. You've heard nothing about Bitcoin. So what people don't say is just as important as what they are saying. So media misinformation is massive. So again, remember what is being said and what is being told. We are fighting this uphill battle, but truth is truth. Truth does eventually win, but it needs to be pulled and pushed along the way. It's not inevitable. They nailed truth to the cross, so it's not inevitable. And I think that's one of the biggest misnomers Bitcoiners have is truth. It's just inevitable. It's the best. It's apex predator asset. And well, it's a money. It's a protocol. So it's outside of all that. It's outside of that realm. However, if we aren't there educating, talking, showing it, helping people, whatever it might be, then it's not inevitable. The system could run maybe for 1,000 years on its own, but if humans don't care, then no one's going to use it. 8, regulatory uncertainty. The rules are intentionally vague, and fear keeps capital frozen. Again, another big reason we've been dealing with for a few years. This is one going back and forth. But remember, zoom out really quick. These are the reasons that Bitcoin's price isn't higher than it is already. And Bitcoin didn't have a price 15 years ago. There was no price. May of 2010 was the first, the Bitcoin pizza day. That was when Bitcoin actually had a price, a fiat price. And so the world is just starting to kind of catch up and figure out what's going on. And we're at $100,000. So it was fractions of a penny, and now it's $100,000. Think about that. I mean, just sit back and think. Literally think about that. It had no price 15 years ago, and now it takes $100,000, 100,000 US trash tokens in order to buy one Bitcoin. That's insane. 9, cognitive dissonance. People know it's scarce, but because they can't touch it, they don't trust it. And again, how many times have we heard this? Another one of the reasons, another one of the objections you hear of, I can't feel it, I can't, but the dollars in your bank account you can't feel. It's digital. It's a centralized controlled ledger that you have that you can be frozen out of, etc. But it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. So again, cognitive dissonance. 10, generational lag. The wealthiest generation is slowest to change, and they still control most of the capital, like it or not. And this is number 10 is exactly where I think we are, 5 to 10 years out. I think we're 5 to 10 years minimum. Maybe it's 10 to 20 years, maybe it's in the 2030s. I think when this demographic shift happens, the older generations sunset and the capital flows down to the younger generations, I think you're going to have a massive flipping of the iceberg that's happening. And again, like it or not, the older generations, they control the wealth. They control the vast majority of the wealth. I heard a stat recently that at this same time period, the baby boomers had about 20% of the wealth of the country at the same age as the millennial generation. And right now, the millennial generation has like 3 to 5% of the nation's wealth. So it just goes to show you what's happening. And obviously, the older generations, they don't care. They generally don't care. They're not in pain. They're doing fine. So why would I need Bitcoin? Why would I care at the end of the day? And it's not so much that you don't care. I mean, I think if every baby boomer truly knew, or silent generation member actually knew what Bitcoin was truly, and had studied it for 100 hours, 1,000 hours, they'd all want Bitcoin generally, or vast majority of them. But the will to learn and educate isn't there naturally, because I've done well, I've done fine, inflation has done great for me type of mentality, right? We're humans. We have to understand that. And that's the point of this talk. The next structure, or the next segment, is technical and economic bottlenecks. So again, a lot of this has to do with psychology. 11, low transaction throughput. So people confuse Bitcoin's base layer with its full stack. Slow on purpose doesn't mean it's broken. It's a feature, not a bug. We want decentralization and security over speed. The Bitcoin, the trilemma, right, of scalability, decentralization, and security. Bitcoin chose to make its base layer different than everything else, secure and decentralized. We can deal with the subsequent layers built on top to increase speed, which is obviously Lightning, Fedi, Liquid, all these other layers that are going to do that. It's a protocol, right? The internet is a protocol. It has layers built on top of it. That's how the digital economy works. 12, lack of circular economy. Until people earn in Bitcoin, not just speculate, it stays stuck as an asset, not a currency. And again, this is a big thing as well, that we do need to start earning and spending in Bitcoin, and spend and replace, and to continue that circular economy. Earning in Bitcoin is how people are going to make their Bitcoin. Again, people get very concerned about the ETFs or the big entities getting in Bitcoin and big corporations, but at the end of the day, people are going to start earning in Bitcoin, right? If enough people are educated, they're going to start asking for Bitcoin as payment. So these companies that end up getting a lot of Bitcoin, or they have Bitcoin treasuries or whatever, they're going to have to start paying their employees in Bitcoin. And that's how you have even more decentralization of the system. Because again, if you can't buy Bitcoin someday, then how do you get Bitcoin? Well, you have to earn it. You have to swing a hammer. You have to go to work. You actually have to provide for society. You can't just print it out of thin air. We can't just take a bunch of debt out now. Although, side note, there will be debt or credit. The banks. There probably will be things like that, most likely, in a Bitcoin economy. But that's for another time and place. We'll talk about that another day. But that's the world we are entering, where when there's no central bank giving you more Bitcoin or giving you more fiat, or there's someone not printing it at the currency printer, then you have to earn. You have to provide value for society. And that starts reorienting and re-incentivizing society the correct way. Number 13, quantitative tightening optics. I think, therefore I am. So central banks talk tough on tightening, but they're still flooding the system with liquidity in many different ways. And so again, a lot of it's mental, right? Hyperinflation is mental. It's a psychological phenomenon where people, or bank runs, again, whether banks have the cash or not, or they have your money or not, most of the time it's a psychological phenomenon where people think something, therefore it's true, and then they take action on it. So a lot of these, money is a psychological engine. Bitcoin is a psychological engine, and that's what money really is at the end of the day. I believe it's money. I believe my dollar is worth something today, so I use it, and then someone else believes it is wealth, so they use it. At some point, again, that iceberg flips, and there's enough people, a couple percent of society, that says this isn't worth anything. This is worth nothing. This is garbage. This is trash. It's a trash token, and I'm not accepting this anymore. That's where we have some murmurs of the 2019 repo market seizing up, and we have some of those things going on right now. And that's people calling others bluff and saying, yeah, I don't believe you have what you have. Interest rates going up through the roof overnight type of thing, and people's bluff being called. Well, those things can and will happen again. When you're in a system built on dishonesty, built on debt, the system, therefore, the house of cards has to come down at some point. Doesn't mean it happens overnight or in one day or 1 week, but it happens at some point. So it's preparing for that system. It's building the system alongside the corrupt debt-based system. We need an equity-based system that puts consumers and producers on the same side. It's a neutral system that captures deflation and distributes it back to the people instead of giving the winnings. The inflation goes just to the top, the people closest to the currency printer. So the 14, the Treasury general account drain. Again, the U.S. Treasury moves billions around, shifting global liquidity. And again, these are some of these flows, the mind games and the optics that go on. And this is where I have a problem with a lot of the macro stuff that goes on, where you're just chasing. It's like a mouse trying to find cheese. It's like, okay, do we really believe these things? I mean, they can't even get CPI, core inflation correct, and the consumer price inflation. And you're telling me that they're telling you they're just honest about all the currency flows and what's actually happening. That's why it's a moot point to me at the end of the day. Everything correlates to one in a debt-based system. The more you print, Bitcoin is the one that's going to suck all of that currency up the most, because it's the only finite money, the only finite protocol there is. So it's going to be the fastest horse in the race, and it's going to continue being the fastest horse in a race in the long run. Day to day, maybe it's not. Month to month, maybe it's not. But year to year, cycle to cycle, decade to decade, especially, it's going to be the fastest horse. And then stablecoin dominance. Before we get to the last section here, everyone's hiding in stablecoins again. The Clarity Act and Genius Act doing some of these things that are elongating the runway of the dollar. And people all around the world need the dollar. And again, the volatility, we say Bitcoin's volatile, one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin, but we say that. And again, the more you give that energy, the more people believe it, the more you believe it. So we don't take action, or it is volatile, or people don't adopt it. So it stays more volatile because the asset, the protocol stays smaller. It's a network, and the network, as it grows, becomes less volatile. Game theory and manipulation, the last section here. This is what's fascinating to me. Does game theory work? We have so many amazing things going on in the world, incredible announcements that 10 years ago, people would have just lost their mind. Like, I can't believe this is happening. This is absolutely incredible that we have all these amazing announcements, and there seems like there's 100 per day. But now it's just like we have all these announcements, and like, again, to be totally honest, I take them for granted. I like, cool, another amazing announcement. Oh, that's great, but it seemingly doesn't affect price. That's the whole point of this. What is actually slowing things down? Why isn't price 200, 500, a million, 5 million, 10 million? What is actually happening? Game theory works, but humans don't. We're emotional, tribal, and we're late to the party. We're looking around to see what's happening. You don't want to be the first one generally with the arrows in your back, and you don't want to be the first one that gets made fun of. And so we're emotional creatures. Again, we're psychological creatures. So we wait around, and we tend to let the other guy go on the ice first and test it out and tiptoe, make sure the ice is safe, and then we go out. It's just how we are. It's a protection mechanism. Number 17, price suppression by fiat powers. Do you really think central banks wouldn't use derivatives to slow down their own demise? Again, let's be really honest. We've talked about this a little bit throughout. Kind of the general macro point of all this is there are clearly entities around the world that know what's going on. The people in high places know exactly what Bitcoin is, and they know exactly what it is. They're not dummies, and they either want some of it cheaper for their trash tokens, or They don't want it to be successful. And again, if you can't stop it, what's the next best way to have a lack of adoption or people not know? Well, it's to FUD it. It's to create all kinds of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and it's to create infighting and wars inside the community, change the culture, et cetera, et cetera. These are great ways to suppress the price and the adoption and the fervor of people and in Bitcoin. Period. And again, Bitcoin is a four-letter word to a lot of people at this point. There's a lot of great FUD, a lot of great time and energy has been spent educating people, media, like we talked about earlier, some of these ways that have dissuaded people from Bitcoin. I mean, again, if a 5-year-old child can get it very quickly, which I have a few that have gotten it very quickly, when you put up gold, paper, Bitcoin, all these things together, 5, 7, 9-year-old children, and they get it very quickly, very easily. But also, I have a presentation that I gave on homeschooling where there's the chart of genius, and child of genius at 2, 5, 7 years old is through the roof. It's like 90-95% of kids are genius, and then it quickly starts going down over time as they are going into government-run schooling, and you see more media and more commercialization. So your ability to creatively think and be at genius level, it really starts to go down because you're learning just rote memorization. You're just doing what you're told, and you're not thinking outside the box. Again, think about how many people give objections. There's clearly something here. If it's a $2.5 trillion market and there's this, hundreds of thousands of crazy Bitcoiners around the world that are espousing some type of truth, there's clearly something there. But how is it? Again, I do want to say 15 years, 16 years, it has adopted pretty quickly, and that it is a pretty steep adoption curve, I will say. However, at the same time, with the amount of technology and the availability to learn, the internet, AI, and all these things where you can learn very quickly what's happening to you in your life. Why are you getting poorer? Hey, there's an answer out there to fix all these things that we're dealing with. How is it not? Again, how are we not at more adoption? How are we not? Well, again, it's price suppression by fiat powers in every way imaginable. And don't kid yourself. Don't think for a second that that's not the case. Again, I talked to so many people and they're like, oh, I just can't believe there are evil people that do that kind of stuff to us, and they don't have our best interest at heart. That's the story of life. It's humans at a certain collection of human beings that are at the highest level of control, which is controlling other humans. That is the story, the good versus evil spirits, which we've talked about. That's the highest level for evil to obtain, is controlling humans. So if we can't understand that, we have thousands of years of history to tell us that exact thing, then we are literally screwing ourselves over. We have no idea what we're doing. We're going the wrong direction. And that in and of itself is what's going to lead you astray. And that's, again, what this phenomena, this psychological barrier that we need to get through as human beings to start understanding that. And my fear, and the reason that I do stuff like this, and I'm sure the reason that many of you are here, and the reason we talk about these things so much, is because you can see the tracks are out ahead. It's Back to the Future 3, and we're going into Clayton Ravine. And the train tracks are out. The bridge isn't built yet. We can see this. We've been seeing this for years, for decades. And we're trying to stave off the pain, which is maybe a fruitless endeavor. And my father has always said, pain's a great teacher. And he's right. Humans love to learn by pain. And how do you stop a mass of people, of humanity, from going off the ravine and not having to relearn these lessons over and over and over again? Things that, again, for thousands of years have just repeated, these fourth turnings, these cycles. That's what's frustrating, is just knowing A plus B equals C. We know these things are broken. We know people want to control us. We know people want to take our freedoms away. That's inherently how governments work. Collections of people, people individually, generally, I would say most of them probably don't want to control other people. There's some that do, but the collections of groups of people that are their job is to protect you, well, they think naturally they're doing the right thing. So that's, and until we start understanding this, it's tough. So again, not to go on down too many tangents, right? With that, we're just 0.17 here, but it's just, I think it is massive. There is a lot of suppression just across the board from things that we can and cannot see. And I think that again is really, really important to understand. But again, Bitcoin is the only thing, because it's auditable. It's an auditing machine every 10 minutes. That's what eventually breaks through that noise, that proof of work, that energy that the mining uses, attaching digital scarcity to the physical real world, which is one of Satoshi's inventions or discoveries, which is absolutely unbelievable. And number 18, lack of visible scarcity. You can't hold a Bitcoin in your hand, and it makes the scarcity invisible until it's too late. can't hold a Bitcoin in your hand. So I'm not going to hold it. I'm not going to own it. Again, another one of these objections. We've already touched on this. I've already kind of skipped ahead to that. No clear catalyst yet. Every major repricing needs a trigger, and the next crisis will be Bitcoin's ignition point. And it's coming. We know they're coming. It only speeds up. All you have to do is look at the debt. Look at the debt. We were at 5 trillion in 2005, 2006, and now we're dang near 40 trillion. We're at the exponential part of the hockey stick curve. And like I said the other day, of course, Bitcoin was literally discovered to rectify those problems that were going on, be a system outside of that sinking Titanic. Well, Bitcoin wouldn't exist if the dollar was stronger, or if the government wasn't printing all kinds of currency, if there wasn't a bunch of liquidity. No shit. As I said the other day, well, no, you don't say, Captain Obvious. Well, thank you for that. Thank you. Well, now we have something. We have something that humans have never had in thousands of years. Again, think about that. Printing press, the wheel, fire, all these things were discoveries at one point, a protocol that was then built on and then utilized, and then it was harnessed, and harnessing different energy forms. That is Bitcoin. Bitcoin found a way to harness the energy, the economic energy of the world, and to contain it and harness it for humans that can't be manipulated by another man or woman. That's incredible. That literally changes all of humanity. That's a pretty clear catalyst to me. But again, education needs to catch up to adoption. And Bitcoin breaks all the models. Again, like we've been saying, you can't value freedom with a discounted cash flow model. And that's why Wall Street still doesn't get it. That's why Silicon Valley doesn't get it. Wall Street doesn't get it, because everyone's trying to fit round peg, square hole into this old world. It doesn't work. It does not work like that. That's not how things operate anymore. And the younger generations are seeing it. The older generations are not. So build your stack. Build your stack. Get your Passport Core. $10 off for going to foundation.xyz/Brandon. Get your Stamp Seed titanium plates. Get it. Doesn't cost very much. Go get it. Takes a few minutes to set up. Then you're out of the system forever. You're off the Titanic. You are now officially off the Titanic, in the lifeboat, outside the system, completely outside. And then put the seed that this thing generates, your Passport Core, into titanium. Stampseed.com, code Brandon for 15% off. Soar wide. Control your keys. Secure your legacy. This is simple stuff, guys. This is so simple. And when the dam breaks, 0.21, technically, I guess, which is just the end all be all of it, Bitcoin won't go up. It'll reprice everything. It's repricing the entire world. $500,000 will feel inevitable, not expensive. $5 million. You know, Jeff Booth says 900 trillion, 1 quadrillion are the assets of the world, right? Or we know that. And he says it's going to account for every single dollar. And I tend to agree with him that it has to account for every single dollar in the world, because if Bitcoin is money and it stays decentralized and secure, it has to reprice every single asset in the world, all money, all assets, because it is the protocol. It is the money. It is the decentralized ledger that no one can control. It's the ledger that each of us have. It's like having a little journal with the ledger of all the transactions in the world happening. And you need, 20 nuclear aircraft carriers in order to mess with that system currently. Think about that. 20 nuclear subs, 20 nuclear aircraft carriers, just to try to mess with those transactions, that next block of transactions. That's an immutable ledger. That's a ledger that someone can't come in and mess with and say, no, I didn't spend that, or a chargeback, or whatever. 3% fees on credit cards, all that's gone. Cleaning up the environment instead of making the environment worse, like gold and silver mining, or the fiat system. Fiat system incentivizes wars, all these things. I mean, think about the amount of prosperity and abundance we will have by just accepting this one thing, by accepting a money, a ledger, a finite container for a finite time and energy. Just think about the abundance we will have because of that 1 second decision that people need to make. And we don't need a lot. We only need 3%. The world isn't ready yet, but you can be. You can be. We only need a couple percent. We still have a ways to go. We're very early. I mean, Orange Pill app, Club Orange, again, another one of our sponsors. There's not even 20,000 people on the Orange Pill app. How many real Bitcoiners are there that actually get this in the world? 100,000, 50,000, couple 100,000, even at 800,000 people in the world that really truly get it, that understand what we're talking about. What is that? It's like 0.0001% of society. We need to get to like 3%, guys. So that's how early we are. So patience. Drive forward one step in front of the other, but patience at the same time. The only way. I mean, it's literally the only way. So when confidence in fiat collapses, it won't be a general rise. It'll be a repricing event that rewrites what money is. It'll rewrite all of human history. It's going to rewrite everything. Everything. So appreciate you guys. Yeah, hold those seeds in steel, Torp. Exactly. Glad you guys are here. Any questions, comments? Appreciate you guys being here. Torp. Clean your machine. I love that. Such a good name. That's such a good name. Hey, I appreciate that. The greatest BG since the BGs. Provide value. Let's go. Provide value to Bitcoin and earn sats. It's gonna be a long weekend when fiat does fail, that's for sure. But I appreciate you guys. I absolutely appreciate you guys, and I will do. Let me know what you guys would like on the live streams going forward. I'll be doing some more of these, and I like the BG comment. And again, my hope is to. Would you guys like a daily show, like a 10-minute, 15-minute show? I think there's some of the shows, there's some of the things just out there in the world, whether it's legacy media or whatever, where it's like an hour long or 30 minutes long, and you really just need like a show to get in and get out. And what is the news of the day? What 10 minutes? What's actually happening? And that to me is the daily bit, something like that, where it's just the news of the day. It's simple. It's not 2 hours long. It's not an hour long. And it's just something where you kind of get in, get out, get the news of the day. So anyway, that's something I'm thinking about playing around with, whether it's two or three times a week or twice a week, or eventually it might be 5 times a week. But and then obviously with the podcast, we have some incredible podcasts coming up. So hope you enjoy those. Tor Eklund and Michael Hazard, who, speaking of, I know it's all over everyone's feeds right now, is the court cases with the samurai guys, but they're working with Roman Sterlingov, and we go into some of that stuff. We don't get super into the weeds with that, but just the importance of his case and the samurai and some of these cases, that's going to be coming out probably tomorrow. Going to be really fascinating time for freedom, prosperity, liberty that we're living through. But again, this is a time to try men's souls, but this is why we're here. This is why we're here. So yeah, absolutely don't have your, I love that. Auto detailer. That's amazing. I love that. Alberta, such a good place too. Tore up. Yeah. Rip some packs. Got some packs. Got some Genesis packs right here, actually. So maybe we'll do some stuff like that eventually. And we'll do some different stuff. Bitcoin needs some fun. It needs more fun. It needs some more packs. It needs some more. Got some cards here. Got some Genesis cards. And get those bad boys. Aladdin doing his thing, crushing it, trying to make Bitcoin fun, trying to educate people in different ways. So yeah. Oh yeah. Autograph card for sure. You can definitely do that. I know I've got a number of messages in Telegram that are asking about that, actually. So anyway, amazing stuff, guys. Appreciate you. Don't want to make this any longer than it is. I already went longer, 10, 15 minutes longer than I wanted to. So appreciate you guys. Give me thoughts on the daily shows. We might have some recorded shows on possibly another channel. They'll be starting on more recorded videos, but then live streams, maybe a daily bit, current events thing. And then our podcast, obviously, here as well. The Cliff channel. Go check out this if you have not already. Obviously, Stamp Seed, support the show. Foundation.xyz/Brandon for $10 off. Stampseed.com, code Brandon for 15% off. And then go check out Aladdin's cards. Bitcoin trading cards. The best place, the Orange Pill and Pack, to Orange Pill people. More fun than doing this, to be honest. So next big meetup for me is probably, that's a good question. I don't know. Whoever comes asking me to speak, and also maybe Vegas. We'll see. Yep. Cheers. Appreciate you guys. Hit me up in the Telegram.